C-SPAN's StudentCam video competition challenges high school and middle school students to produce a mini-documentary about compelling issues of the day. This year's winners crafted a video message to President Obama. Here's one of the second prize winners.
Ain't gonna let Wells Fargo take our homes. Ain't gonna let Wells Fargo. Ain't gonna let them take our homes.
Could you give me one word that best describes the current economic crisis?
It's devastating.
Terrifying.
Sparse.
Anxiety. Ouch.
Preventable. Disaster. Unpredictable.
A greedy
Dear Mr. President, my name is Chad Klitzman. My partner and I, Dustin Slade, have flown up to New York City to see how the recent economic bailout package has impacted Wall Street and the citizens of the United States. And I think there are a few things that you should see.
Just take us back and explain to the American people, how did we get here?
Okay. I would say, first of all, we have excesses, and excesses that have built up for a long period of time, number one. Number two, we have an archaic financial regulatory structure that came in place a long time ago after the Depression. It really needs to be rebuilt. And then there are certain things like, for instance, Fannie and Freddie. The roots of that, what we're doing is really living up to our responsibilities, which were rooted in congressional charters that go back decades and then have been perpetuated by Washington. But again, what we're focused on right now, I think, is the future, and the future is stability, orderliness in our financial markets and working through this period, and that's what we're doing.
According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a bailout can best be described as a rescue from financial distress. The issue with the current bailout is whether or not the government has the right to allocate billions upon billions of dollars into ailing companies. People advocating the bailout believe that it was important to help out these failing companies as they are a major contributor to our overall economic state. Those in opposition believe that the bailout is only helping the CEOs of failed companies, who aren't doing their job properly, thus setting the company into disarray while citizens of the United States struggle to survive. Overall, the bailout has created a lot of anger and hope, which can be expressed in a constructive way, as shown by this talented artist, Jeffrey Raymond.
This is a portrait of Alan Greenspan. I'm a professional painter, and I regularly paint controversial Wall Street guys. And if we're at a real moment in history, which we're constantly in terms of the financial crisis in America, I paint them on a white background, and I hand people magic markers, and I say, would you like to annotate my painting, just like I said to you? And then people just sort of say what they have to say about the current crisis. The reason I call them the Fallen Prince, which is the name of this painting, is everybody thought that Alan Greenspan was a genius 5 years ago. And now, particularly based on yesterday's testimony in Congress, the political and financial opinion is shifted kind of to the notion that he was actually in a large way responsible for a lot of what's happening by pushing hard on deregulation. And so I call him the Fallen Prince because he's used to be up here and now he's actually plummeting.
We had the distinct pleasure of conferring with the president and chairman of American National Bank, Donald Sturm. Mr. Sturm resides in Denver, where he heads more than 40 banks throughout the Rocky Mountain area. Of the 50 NYU and Columbia economics professors and financial experts from companies like Goldman Sachs, Mr. Sturm was the only executive willing to discuss an issue as sensitive as the bailout on camera. On a daily basis, he deals with mortgages, investments, and stocks, all items relevant to the bailout. We caught up with this expert to discuss how the bailout has affected the economy and the banking industry. Do you believe the government should be bailing out companies given the state of our current economy?
I think those institutions should be allowed to fail. And some of them did fail, like Washington Mutual failed, and that was a case where the government directed that they be taken over by somebody. So in the normal course of events, without this so-called bailout, banks typically that were weak and management got them in trouble, they were allowed to fail, and then some other bank picked them up and acquired them. But in this particular case, what's going on is the government is giving the acquiring bank money with which to make the acquisition. Previously, the government had no role in it other than saying this bank's going to fail. The other bank that made the acquisition had to have enough capital, enough liquidity, enough resources to make the acquisition.
While in New York City, we were both in awe of the amount of for rent and for sale signs that were around town. It was becoming clear that people just aren't buying, so stores have to close or move to a cheaper location. Those struggling through these tough economic times got together on October 24th, 2008 and attended a Bailout the People movement rally. These individuals are strong advocates of firing bankers and bailing out the people, not the banks. And, as you will see, their opinions on the bailout, well, they're quite different than that of Henry Paulson's.
They know that people are suffering. They know that people are getting angry. And they're worried about it. They worry about it more than you worry about it. But what they're trying to do is to ignore ordinary poor working people. They look out their window and they don't see us as bankers. And they say, we can keep giving the money to the banks. Obviously, we can get over on the people. Now it's not the way we want it.
The banks. Why shouldn't the banks be bailed out?
Because they're the one who got us in this mess to begin with. I mean, if people gamble away tons of money on the stock exchange like this, creating this speculation bubble, they don't get to take a mulligan. They're losing our money. You know, if they get themselves into trouble, if they drag the rest of the economy into trouble, it's not our problem.
The federal government has responded to this crisis with systematic and aggressive measures to protect the financial security of the American people. People look at this crisis and say, oh, it's only to Wall Street. I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I know that if we had not acted, it was going to affect the American people directly. The actions will take more time to have their full impact.
Mr. President, you have seen in this documentary how Wall Street, how investors, how citizens of the United States are truly being impacted by the recent government bailout package. We've done the research, we've given you the facts, but we do not have any power. You have the power. You are our president, and the recent government bailout package and the well-being of our citizens should be at the top of your agenda.
You've just seen a winning entry from C-SPAN's StudentCam video competition. To view more winning entries and to see the complete list of winners, visit studentcam.org.